All right. Can someone confirm that you can hear me and see my screen, please?
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Nothing new from my side. I mean, I I have request a room for our final exam that is coming soon, right? We are already in April. So the day and time should be in your PeopleSoft. So look at there and you're going to see the date and time. Whatever school has assigned it is not on my hands, that thing. The date and time is the schools sets this for me even before they start off the semester. So just look at that. And the room itself, we, well, I forgot this was a in-person class. So it's going to be in, well, I'm taking back. I'm not sure that it is going to be in the same room because of the time might be different. So I will update this as you guys as I get more information about that. Does anybody has any questions so far? All right. So what we are going to do, someone looks like has sent something there. Oh, thank you. It says there. So, all right. So it's going to be in Lawrence, room 105, from 12 to 1:50. All right. At April 30th. Wow. We are almost there. Thank you, Ella. I appreciate that. Okay. So let's just recap what we are doing. We are doing GUIs. GUIs we are using Java FXML, not just Java FX, but Java FXML. And I explained this multiple times why we are doing this is because then you can use this file here with Scene Builder to just drag and drop elements there. And when you load this, when your application that is right here, just let you know, when we load this page, so this is the page that we are going to load using this class. What happened is this class, when it loads, it's going to go through this text file because this is just a text file, and it's going to create objects in the memory. So when you go here and you see something like this guy here, this is an object, an actual job object in your memory, and this object is an instance of this class called text field. And by now you shouldn't be scared of looking those kind of things. It's just an object that has been created using that a new text field constructor. It has put it in the memory, and this is just a class that we have done multiple classes in this course already, where you have class fields, you have constructors that can be non-default or can be default constructors, you have the toString, and you have a bunch of methods that are developed for this blueprint. And this is an object that was created based on that blueprint. This is another object created by the same blueprint, and so on. So and this it creates for you. So the Java FXML creates this kind of things based on this file here. So if we edit here, based on all these things here, it creates for you. So you do not need to create a Java program to create that. If you use just Java FX, you need to create all these components by hand yourself, but you don't need to do if you use Java FXML. And what we have done is, let's see, do I have the Scene Builder open? No, let me open Scene Builder. So if you look at this GUI that we have, so let me just click OK here, move this thing here. So basically that's what we have here is our GUI, right? So we went through that. We explained how to create those things. And basically what we are doing here, just for the fun of it, we are creating a mortgage calculator. So you need to give the house price, you need to give the down payment, So the subtraction of those is what you're going to ask as a loan for your bank. And then you have the annual interest rate and how many years you're going to do it. And when we are running this equation here. So that is equation that this is the monthly payment that you need to pay to the bank every single month based on this formula. And this formula, basically, P is the principal, and this is the name that they use, but it's the money that you own to the bank, right? So you own $500,000. That is the loan amount that you get. This is going to be 5,000. This is the interest rate that if it's 5% annually, this is in monthly. So you need to get 5% divided by 100 to change from 5% to 0.05. Then you need to divide by 12 because it's the monthly, not annually. And then N is the number of months that you're going to pay. So if it's 30 years, you're going to have 360. N is going to be 360 hours. And then when you do this calculation, you're going to get a value. And that's what we are putting right here in that thing. So this is the GUI. I'm going to leave this kind of here just for us to see. And if we run, I can close this one here. So if we run this code as it is right now, what is it? I'm getting here, putting it here. So that's what we get. So if the house price in the market is 600,000, and then you put like 100,000 down payment. So what you really are asking for the bank is 500,000. And currently, let's say that is 5% interest annually. And then you're going to pay this in 30 years. And then what we did this calculation here. So the house price, the down payment, the annual interest rate, the number of years, and that's what you need to pay, this $2,684.11. So that's what we did so far. And again, I can't stress enough that there are few things that you need to know about the GUIs, all right? And this works, what I'm going to tell, it applies to many other languages, like HTML with JavaScript and so on, C++, and I believe that Python is the same. You need to get a hold on these guys here. For example, this is where the customer is going to put the house price, like 600,000. We need to get a hold on this value and send from the GUI. We need to send to the controller, that is a Java program that is going to get this value and do something with this value. So for us to have a way from the Java program to get this field here, we need to assign IDs for every single of these fields that we are going to get data or send data. In this case, it's just get data. How do you do that? In Scene Builder, you select the component here, and in this guy here, you go to code, and you're going to see that there is a FX ID here. You need to have those things so your controller can communicate with this component in your GUI. All right, and you need to do for all the other ones. You see that it's changing here, changing there, changing there. We are going to eventually put some data in this plot, so I need to know an ID for that plot so I can send the data. So here is the ID for that plot. And the same thing here, if you remember, we need to put the summary of the mortgage. So again, this is a text area and you need ID, and that's what you have right there. Very simple, very simple. There is nothing much here. Now, the button is a little different. The button, I don't want to get, for example, the text inside here. I don't care. What I care is when it is clicked. So when it's clicked, I want to run a function that is listening for this click here. Is what we call event listener. And the event listener in this case is a click event. And if the click event happens, I want to run a function. So when you click here, still in code, you're going to see that there is a on action here. That is basically the button has been clicked. So this is the event on action. And here is the function that will be run if this event happens. So this is a thing that you need to put it here. Can be any name here, could be banana, doesn't matter, it's just a name. But when you go to the controller, you need to have this function there to do so, all right? Okay, after you do all those things, never forget to save. So go here and save it. When you save it, when it's up to date, it's going to be gray like mine is, and that's fine. What else? Go back here. What is mine? Okay. So you right click, you made a lot of changes in Scene Builder with this file here. So you right click and say make controller or update controller. That is the file that is going to communicate with the GUI. So this is the controller for that one here. And when you say here, make controller or update controller, this guy is going to be updated and we will have all sort of things right here. All right, and the IDs that I show you in the Scene Builder, very, very important. Never delete those guys right here. They don't look like they make any difference, but if you delete and try to run, you're going to get an error. And figure out the error is going to be hard because you forgot that you delete this, and it loses the connection between this and the GUI. So don't do that. All right. What else we did last lecture? As I told you before, this is a function initialize that you can drop here anything you want that you want to initialize your GUI. All right, so in this case, I'm just setting here the title for mortgage calculator, but could be anything that you feel like it's important. In this case, there is nothing much there. But then remember, we had that button that when I click, I'm going to run a function. And this is the function. You see, it's a XML function. And the function is right here. And this is where all the action happened in our case. So the first thing we are doing here, we run this function. It's just another function. So I divide to conquer instead of putting all the things that I need to do in just one function. This is going to be huge. I decided to divide to conquer. So we are going to call small functions to do specific things. So the first one is to calculate the mortgage. And again, I can get the value of that text field in the GUI using the object. Remember this object, I'm going to go back just a little bit, is this guy right here that has been created when I click update controller. This has been placed here, and I know that this is connected to that text area. So what I can do, I can say, go to that object. This is an object and has multiple functions. One of them is get text. So this guy here, I will have, for example, 600,000, but in the text format. For me to change to a double, we need to use this double parse double and so on. So that's the way that we collect all the data. Then we just did the calculation. Remember the equation that you show you? Just that, this is just that calculation. And here I'm printing here in the output, just for us to double check if it's close to what we need, and it is. Should be 26.84 and 11 cents. So everything is fine here. And we could check with like a on-site, online sites that have this same equation, put it there. So you could enter the data and see if you get these values here. So we are all set here. We know that the calculate mortgage calculated correctly, and we are saving this number, right, the 2684 in this global variable. That's why it's in pink here, it's global. And I put in global just because then we can use in another functions without passing as an input argument. So that's the only reason I make it a global variable. And the global variable is just you put here at the beginning of your class, you put the global variables that you're going to use. All right. Then what we did, if you remember, we update the mortgage summary that we did already. That is a function, and the function we just use a string builder, and I strongly recommend you to use string builders, and I would like to see those things in labs, in the final exam, in your final project. I would like to see always when you concatenate a bunch of strings, I would like to use a string builder to do that instead of using the plus sign. This is a lot more efficient than using plus signs and addition or so. And if you present some codes like in an interview and has a lot of pluses instead of string builder, that might be a killer. All right, so just start using this, get comfortable in using this kind of structure. The monthly payment, the only thing I change here, I don't know if you have this change. The mortgage payment is like there is a lot of digits after the decimal point, not just 2 for the cents, but has a lot like 10 or so. So what I did is I got this number and I format using this format here. I want 2 digits after the period, and this number here is a real number. It's not an integer or it's not a character. You need to use F to tell that this is a real number, all right? And then you need to put percentage telling format. Use this format. So this is kind of telling where the format starts. That is right here, right? So this is important. So you need to provide this, then comma, and that one here. When you format, you are going to run this format function. This format function is from this class called string, and then it's going to format. So instead of having all these numbers, you see all these numbers here, I'm just going to have up to here, all right? And it will be 11 because this understands that the 8 is closer to 11, to 1. So it's going to do that. Just to see if you remember this format is calling the class name, not the object's name, right? So if you remember here, let me get an example here. You see this function? I'm using the object name, not the text field class. I'm using the object that is an instance of the text field. So I'm not using the class. I'm using the object that was created based on that class. But this one here, this function, I am calling directly from the class. Does anybody remember what kind of method this is then? Okay, this is the method. It's a static method, meaning static means that does not depend on objects. It's going to format, doesn't matter what. So like a square root of 9 is always 3. Doesn't matter if you have an object of the math class. Doesn't matter if it's my object, your object, someone else's object. The square root of 9 is always going to be 3. So square root of 3, we put here, we say math dot square root of 3, because the square root of 3 is a static method. The same thing format. Doesn't matter if I get a string that is based on something and then I say dot format and I get the format. This will always return a thing that's not depending on objects. So we can put the class name right here. And if you go here, just for us to remember, let's see, it says right here, you see, it's static. You see that? That's what is there. All right. So far, so good. We did that. And then what we did after adding all these strings to this, appending all these strings in this string builder, I can set the text of that text area using this function called dot set text. And then I get the string builder and say, give me the string that you're building in the memory. So it's going to return, and that's what we got when we run our program, right? That's what we got right here. Okay, so far so good, nothing much there. Now let's go and do the rest. The rest is creating this mortgage plot here, right? So we want to do that. So just for my own curiosity, what I did is I print the results here in an Excel spreadsheet. Let me move this guy here. Let's see if I can move here. I wanted you to understand what we just did. We calculate this guy here, right? So for every single month, you are always going to pay the same thing. So these guys here are always the same. You are going to pay $2,684 every single month of the year for 30 years. Now, as I mentioned to you, I gave that example of a tipping a waitress, right? You own to the restaurant $30 and you gave like a tip of $5. You still own the restaurant $30 because the tip has nothing to do what you own to the to the restaurant, right? So for houses is the same. You are getting some money, 500,000 you are getting, right? Now, you need to, double quotes here, you need to tip the bank. The tip in this case is the interest rate, in the interest from the amount that you own. So you're going to pay that. However, this money that you're paying towards the interest doesn't change how much you own to the bank. It's going to still be 500,000. All right. But remember, from this 2,600s, you are almost 2,100s you're giving for the interest. The rest, that is this guy here, is the subtraction of this one minus this one. That's this guy here. This guy, it's really you're paying the bank for the amount that you own. So from 500,000, you see that the value now is smaller, is 500,000 minus the principal. Okay, and this is just something that you need to pay every month. And again, you need to pay every month this. But what I'm showing here is the interest and the principal towards that. This number here is calculated by subtracting, not subtracting, right? Sorry, getting how much you own the bank and multiply the interest rate. So if I get here, for example, remember we have initially 500,000. Now I need to multiply by the interest rate, but the interest rate is 5% annually. Then I need to divide by 12, that is monthly. So if I get that, you see that's the value of what I'm getting right here. All right, knowing how much I pay towards the interest, I can know how much I pay to the principal. That is just the subtraction. And what happened as this number goes down, instead of 500 that we have here, you have a smaller number, a smaller number. So what happens throughout the life of your mortgage? The interest, the payment towards the interest is going down all the time because you have less money that you still own the bank. All right, so eventually the interest rate is almost nothing. And how much you pay for the principal, remember, you always pay this because this guy is decreasing, and this orange, that is how much you pay for the principal, that is this guy, is always increasing a little bit over and over and over. So you get this second plot here. If I add in any time, like a 100 month, the month 100, if I add this orange with this blue, I will always get this guy here. Doesn't matter where I get, I'm always going to get that number. But the fraction that I'm using for interest rate keeps decreasing, and the fraction that I put towards my principal is increasing. Just let you know, so this is, if I add all, then it's always giving me like 2,600. Now, at some point, you might get like a lucky, you won the lottery or something, or you got a lump sum from your job, and you have a bunch of money, and you want to know, you want to call the bank and say, I want to finish my loan, how much I still own the bank. So at the beginning, you have like 500,000 that what you own to the bank. And what happened is, as you're paying, remember, this is towards the principal. So your principal is going down slowly, slowly, slowly until it gets there. So if you like in the month 200, if I want to know how much I own to the bank so I can try to pay it off, they are going to say you own about 300,000 to pay the mortgage and you're done dealing with us. Okay, so there are these three plots here that are kind of important to know when you are dealing with that. Said that, let's go for the calculations. So for me to make a plot, what is it? Here. To make these plots here, I need to make like a series of points here, right? I need to have a points here so I can make a plot. And the same thing here, a series of points to make a plot. So what we are going to do, we could use arrays, but we are going to use lists for every month, we are going to calculate this value and put in their specific lists. And then after creating that list, we can go ahead and plot those numbers. So the first thing that we need to do, just give me a second here, is we need to create, so let's go back here. Okay, so the create plot here, what I want to do first is going to say, compute lists for interest payments and principal payments by month, right? So that's what we want. So what we can do here, we are going to say here like a compute monthly values. All right, so that's what we're going to do. Okay, so well, let's create this function. So if I go here, we have that function. And what we need to do is basically that, how we get one value of how much I pay for the interest and so. So I'm going to put here just one value so you know what we are going to do. Double, and then we are going to say payment towards interest. How do we do that? Well, we need to get the principal. Let's say current principal, because the principal will change every month. So the current principal, like $500,000, multiplied by the monthly, like I did in the spreadsheet, interest rate. So that's the way that I get this guy right there, right? So we did that. Now, current principal, we still don't have it. So let's put it here, double. Current principal initially is going to be, is going to be whatever we put it there. That is the subtraction of this and that. Do I have it somewhere? Let's see here. Yeah, we just get these two guys here. So control copy. Is going to put how much the house worth and the down payment that you did. So this is the current principal, like 500,000. 600 minus 100,000. Okay, so you got that, and initially is going to be that, and the monthly interest rate. I don't know if I calculated somewhere. I calculated what was a local variable, but doesn't matter. We can get this guy again here. So I'm just going to copy this guy. Control copy, or we could make this like a global variable. Doesn't matter. So I'm going to put here, Control V. So now we have the two items that we need to calculate these payments towards the principal. So what I'm going to get from this calculation is this number right here, this number, right? That's what I'm getting, that number. Now we need to do the same thing to know how much is going to be the payment towards the principal. So payment towards principal. This is going to be what? Your monthly payment, remember? So we have the monthly payment somewhere. That is this one here. The mortgage monthly payment, that is the 26,882 or whatever, and some changes. So this is the total that you're paying monthly. Then you need to subtract the one that is towards the interest. So whatever is left is the payment towards the principal. And again, look at this spreadsheet, is this number right here. That's great. This is for month 0. We need to repeat this for month 1, month 2, month 3, and forward, all right? The only thing here after that, what I would like to do is update the current principal now, all right? Control copy, Control V, oops, Control V. So the current principal, remember, was 500,000 before, but then I put some payment towards the principal. So what we are going to get is what is in the current principal minus the payment towards the principal. That was like a $500 initially. Later on is going to be bigger, but that's what we want to do. Now, this is just for 1 month. If I want to do that for multiple months, what do? Can someone help me here?
You can do a for loop for however many years/months that you put in.
Very good. So I'm going to do here is I'm going to put here, put a tab. So a tab, because I'm going to put a for loop here. And the for loop, as you said, is start from loop 0, go less than the number of payments that you have, and the number of years is this guy here, the numbers of years. So we already calculated that is 30 multiplied by 12 or so. So this is the number of years, and then semicolon I plus plus. Put a curly brackets here and put a curly brackets right there. And again, I know that some people know how to do those things, but I think that the bulk of this class, many of you, it's feel like it's beneficial for me to go line by line explaining everything. I think it's just for us to play with, right? So, all right. So far, so good. Now, when I go to the next month, what happened is the payment towards the interest goes for the principal, and the principal has been updated. So this is always the same. So we are going to get a little smaller value here. And then when you subtract from the other, you're going to get a little bigger value here. And you keep doing this for 360 years if you're making like a for a 30 years loan, all right? Now, every time I do this, I'm creating this box, and then when I loop over, I'm recreating this box, and I'm losing the information from the previous interaction. So what we need is to save. Every time we calculate these guys, we need to save these parameters, right? So that's what we are going to do. And as I mentioned to you, I would like to use, instead of arrays, I would like to use list. So let's put here list. And list of what? Is doubles, right? So double. However, we cannot use primitive variables with list. We need to use what we call a wrapper class. Wrapper means that it's just wrapping what you have for a double and put more stuff on it. So this is a class that the main purpose is to deal with a double number. So that's what you have here, and that's called wrapper. And I can see, I can put here like a payment towards interest, and I'll put here list just to know. And this is just, again, it's just a variable. And then here we need to create that list. This list is an object. and this is a class, and that's what you need to say, new array list there. And then here we are going to add this to our project. So we add there, and you need to go again and add the list. One, I add the array list, and the other, I add this guy here. We need to do the same thing for the principal. So I'm going to just basically copy the previous line and put it here, payment towards principal. So I'm creating an empty list. And you know what? I'm going to create one more list that is going to be just the numbers of years or months that we are doing. So it's just an array, because remember, when I plot, I need the X and Y. So this guy here is going to be the Y, and I need to create the X. That's basically just the numbers, like the month, right? So that's what we are doing here. So let's put here and here we can put like a monthly. What can I put it here? I don't know. Let's say month list or something here. Month number list. All right. So these are three empty lists that I'm going to create, because I want to save this guy and this guy. And when they are connected to the month, so here is connected to this month, I need to create three arrays. So that's what I'm going to do here. So can be before, can be after, really doesn't matter. So what we are going to do here is use, for example, let's get this one first, Control copy, Control V, and then we're going to say add, and let's try to put the I. Okay. It complains because I is a integer and this is a double. So I think we can do that. We can say double. Yeah. So I am casting. So this is a casting. So I am changing from integer to a double. So this is what we call casting. So I just put it there. Then what we need now, we are going to do the other ones. So the other one is this guy here, towards interest. So this is an array that is empty. Now I'm going to add a number, and the number that I want to put is this guy here that I just calculated. Control V. Oh, gee. Payment. Let me fix this. Why? All right. And then finally, one more. We need this guy here. Control copy. Control V. And then payments towards principal. And then we are going to get this guy here. Control copy. Control V. And that's it. So I create three arrays, right? The three arrays are here empty. Then I am adding for every interaction in this for loop, I'm adding these values. So basically what I have, I'm adding to one array, that is the monthly number here. This is going to be array. This is going to be another array, and this is going to be the other array. I need those three guys to plot this kind of information in my chart. Now, after I compute this guy here, I need to return those lists, right? I need to return this list, and this list. However, functions, as I mentioned to you a long time ago, it returns just one thing. So what should we return here? If I need to return three things like this ones here, how can I return three things in one single shot? Does anybody remember? Let me try asking you some different question. If I have the row and column, remember we did that in that 15 tile puzzle. If I have a row and column and I want to send back that, what did we do to send back two numbers, row and column, in a function? Can someone remind me what did we do?
Is it an array?
Very good. In this case, you can send an array, or you can, since we are working with lists, what I'm going to do is I'm going to send a list that is not inside, is not a double, but is a list that has another list inside. So what we are going to do is something like this: list of, instead of a double, what I'm providing is a list of lists. That's what we are doing here. Right? So again, is a list of, instead of a double, is a list that contain multiple lists. So we, in this list here, we are going to have this list that is this one, and this one. So we are going to have multiple lists inside this list. It's like a 2D array, basically, what we are doing here. So what we need to do, we need to create this list that is going to hold all these other lists here. And I'm making this by purpose just for you to get used to it, because this is also very common. Instead of working with arrays, we are working with lists. So I need to create a list of lists of double numbers, okay? And I can call whatever. So let's say major list, whatever, it's just a name. Then you need to say new array list here. Okay, so we have that. So it's a list that will contain all these lists. So what we need to do now is, this guy is the object that we just created. So here we can come here, p dot, we are going to add, and look at that. When we add, it's asking for a list of doubles. And we have the list of doubles. One of them is the month number list. That is this guy, that is a list of doubles. So we just put one full list inside this major list. We need to repeat this 2 more times. Now we need to get this guy here. So we are putting a second list inside this major list, and then eventually we need to add, and we are going to put this guy. Okay. Now I have that the major list with all the small lists inside. Now I can return, and I need to return something that is this, has this kind of structure, and we have, that is the major list. So I can return the major list, and everything is all set here. Last thing that we need to do for this part here is, remember, this function now returns something. It returns this whole thing here. So control copy that. Let's go back here. We are calling this function, and this function returns something. So I'm going to save what the function is returned. Well, but the object that I return needs to be of what type? Needs to be of type like this. This is the type of my object. And I can call here again, I'll plot this or something like that. It's just a name. So this function will return an object. The object is a list of doubles. So this is what I'm saving. All right. And let's run this just to see what we get. I'm going to run in debug mode. Let's see if I still, no, yeah. So I'm going to run in debug mode. Okay, so I put here 600. Interest rate of 5 and number of years of 30. And when I calculate, it calculates those things. I'm right here, and I want to check this guy here. So again, how do I check? I hover my mouse and I go here to this sign, click here, and you're going to see that this all plot list is a list of array lists. So here, each element is an array list, you see here. And if I click here, if I expand, you're going to see that the month start from 0 and go up to 300, and they just separate like a. Is this right? Let's see. Oh, you see, that's good debugging. I have just 30 points, and I would expect to have 360 points. So I believe that I made a mistake. Where is it? The for loop is not just the number of years that is 30. You need to multiply by 12 because you need, these numbers is a number of months, not number of years. So I forgot to multiply by 12. I'm going to stop this. I'm going to rerun again in debug mode. So let's go back here, go back there. So 600 plus this. 5 and 30. Okay, so we got there. So again, if I go over here, that is the returning of that function. If I go here, you should see that the first, you get this kind of things here. That means just help you like a separating groups, but everything is inside this list. So at the beginning, you're going to get like a from 1 to like a 99. So that's what you get, but you can keep going forward up to 360 that you're going to see. So these are the numbers in the first list. All right, so everything is fine. Just checking general things just to see if we make any mistakes, and we did before. Interest rate should be very high at the beginning, so it should be close to 2088, 2083. And as we mentioned, as you go towards the end of the mortgage, it should be very small. So you see it's 500 and keep going down until the last payment is almost zero. All right. And that's what we want. So everything is fine. And the other one is how much is the principal. So the principal that you own, it's something like that. That is wrong too. I need to fix it. Should be 500 and not 600. But again, if you go all the way to the end, it should be almost nothing that you pay. So as you see here, it's keep going down, but it's still some number here is because we start with the wrong number. So I will fix that. Sorry about this, is another error in my code. So let's see here. I wanna here is this guy here. Where is this? Give me just a second here. Let's see what is wrong. So you have the monthly interest statement that I towards. I'm not sure what is wrong here. I think everything is right. So let's keep moving here. So what I'm going to do now, we get these arrays, and then these arrays, what we need to do is we need to calculate, to plot, right? So that's what we're going to do here. We are going to say, we can call a function like a plot data or something like that. So it's going to be another function. This is going to be the most complicated function that we have, but I'm going to guide you through. So select this. Oh, by the way, the plot data needs this lists here. So I'm going to put inside, Control V. And the best way of creating this plot data is just come here, left click and say create method. And I'm going to show you what we have. We have a method called plot data that returns nothing, but look at that. It has one input, that is this object here, that is a list of lists. All right, so we have that thing there. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you some code that will be easier than you type everything, right? So let's go by parts here. I'm going to give you this part here first. Copy. Let's go to chats. Are we in for everybody? Okay, Control V and hit enter. So copy that first part here, and I will explain what they are. So if you look at your Excel and you click here, in any of those lines, if you click, it says series. You see there, series, and that's how we call in a plot. Each line is a series. All right, so we need to create two series in our program. So the way to create is we are creating a series for XY chart. So this guy here belongs to this blueprint, this class. So you need to do this XY chart dot series. And the series, again, because it's an XY chart, you need to provide the X and Y values. And here you need to say what type they are. They are numbers. The X and the Y, they are numbers. And you need to give a name for this object. So remember, this is just a class. This is the object name that you're giving. And then you need to do, as we have done 300 times already, you need to create a new series based on a constructor. So this is the constructor for that guy. All right. The same thing, we are going to have two plots. One is the interest rate curve, and the other is the principal curve that we need to calculate, to plot. So we need to create a second series, and that's the way to do it. All right. So that's what we have right here. Now, again, you have this yellow, the red underline. It means that you have not imported. So you need to import to your project. So left click here, and you need to look for JavaFX scene and that guy right there. So that's what you do. So I create this series, but it doesn't have any point yet, right? The points will come from these arrays here. So we still not done yet. Now, each series, normally you can have like a legend. You know, when you, I don't think I put it here. Oh, I put it. You see the legend here, the legend for this curve, the legend for this other curve. So you can add legends to the curves. So the way you do it is very simple. You just say the series set name, and then you say whatever, and the principal series set name, whatever. So this is kind of the labels for those ones there. All right. Now, what else do we need to do? Let me move this a little bit away. All right. So what I'm going to do is remember, this is a list of a list. What I wanted to do is just extract it list individually. So I'm going to call this method here, not method, but it's just a command. I'm going to put again in the chat. Just copy that for me, please. And I'm going to pop it here. instead of mortgage values, I put all plot lists, right? So control copy, just replace this guy with the all plots lists. Okay. So what I'm doing is I have multiple lists. I'm getting the first list. And let's see here. The first list is what? The first of the list is the number of month number list. So here should be 1 for the interest, and this should be 2 for the for the principal payments. So again, I'm just separating these two. There are 3 lists here. I'm get the list number 1 that has the interest payments like an array, but it's a list of points. And here the same thing, I get the principal payments as a list of points. Very good so far. Now we just need to add these points into this chart and into this chart. That is this guy here and this guy right there. So what we need to do, for each point, I need to add that point into those 2 charts. So what we need to do, again, is a for loop. And that's what we are going to do. We are almost done with this whole code. Control copy. I'm going to paste it here again. Control V. So copy that into your code, and I'm going to explain line by line here. And what I did here is, when I was developing this code here for this class, I decided not to use this array here, that is this month number list. I just say, okay, it's month 0, 1, 2, 3. It's like a continuous number. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the I instead of that list. So how do I say? I start from 0, and then I must be what? The number of payments in any of those lists. Remember, this list has 360 points. This one has 360 points. So I just say get one of them and get the size. So this whole thing here for now is going to be 360. So I'm looping from 0 to that. Then I say I++. Now, how do I add a point to this guy here that is a chart? It's a series in that chart. So I need to add a point to this guy that is a series. How do I add a point? To add a point, you're going to do this. You're going to get the series, get all the data that is in the series. At the beginning is going to be empty, and then you're going to add a point. But to add a point in this JavaFX ML XY chart, you need to use this structure here, okay? And the structure basically is you're going to create a new point, or a new data, so from this class, and you provide, remember, this is just a constructor, right? You need this constructor, you need to provide 2 points, 2 data. One is the X and the other is the Y. So that's what you have here. The same thing for the principal. I want to add a point, a new data. And again, it's going to be Y, that is, the X, that is going to be 0 initially. And then the monthly principal payments, that is this guy. Remember, this is a list, so I need to get a specific point from that list. And that's why we use the get I here. So I'm getting the if element of that list. Initially, it's going to be 0. It's going to be the first point. Then when I loop over, this is going to be 1. So it's the second point, and so on. So I'm just X and Y here, X and Y there, and adding those things to these plots here. Very good. Now, we create this series. So we have this series and this series with all the data that we need. So we have the lines, but we didn't connect those lines yet with the plot itself. So if you remember here, this is a plot ID. So we need to connect those lines into this plot here. We have not connected them yet. And that's what we are going to do, is the last single comment that you need to do. we need to check what is the name of that plot. So this guy here is just plot, you see here. So we need to connect those series to this plot. So control copy that, however you call that. So this is an empty plot so far. Oops. And remember, this is an object from that plot class. Then what we need to do is, again, get all the data from that plot. So it might have already 3 plots, that 3 series. We are getting all these 3 series, and we are going to add a new series there. In this case, that is just nothing yet, right? We didn't put anything in that plot. Now, what we need to do is we are going to put the series for this plot. There are 2 series that we are using. Is this one here? Control copy. And because we are adding more than one, you can say add all. So we are adding multiple lines. So this is one line, that is one series. Then you can say comma, and you can say the second one, principal. The other one right there. Let me see if I did any mistake here. Plot get data dot et al. Interest rate in principal. Not sure what is wrong here. Just give me a second, guys. And this is what happens when you do live coding, right? There is always an issue that I should not get. So let's see. It's scatter plot, double. Is everybody getting the same error that I'm getting here?
I am, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Why this is... Plot, get data. I tell you, I have this code in another NetBeans that is exactly the same. So I don't know why I'm getting here an error. So let me just double check here. Give me just 1 second here. I have the mortgage that is, we are working on this one here, but I have it right here that is working. So I don't know what is wrong. So I'm just going to go back here and let's take a look here. I don't get any error. Why I don't get any error here and I get there? Plot ID. What is plot ID? Plot ID is amazing. Oh, sorry. It's not a number here. Needs to be, it's not a double. Needs to be number. That should do the trick. So let's take a look. Yeah, there is no error anymore. So that's my fault here. I'm so used to use double, but it's number. That's what this guy requires, this class that is implementing this plot. So that's what you have. So everything you see, there is no error anymore. So we should be all set to go. And again, what we are doing, we are calling this function, right? So we are calling this function from the main driver. So I call this the main driver that we are doing all these things. And then finally, we plot this data. That is a function. When we go here, we create two series completely empty. And then we set their labels or legends. And then we loop over and we are adding to those series these data, this new data here. And finally, we add these two series to the plot. And I'm worried about the one graphic here, but let's see how it goes. When we run before, I got like 600 instead of 500, so something doesn't look quite right, but we are going to debug it too in a second. So let's put here 600, 3, 2, 3, 5, and then 30. Oh, we got an error. Let's see. It looks great for me. I don't see any error here. It's number, so everything should be okay. Let me just take a look on this other controller here. But again, it should be the same thing. You see, we are getting the same things there. So there is nothing. We are adding this. We are getting that. Not sure why we are getting that errors, but I will try to fix it and let you know. But what should happen? So if I run this code here, that is exactly the same what we have. Let me just go back here for a minute. And let me bring this here, bring it there. And I will debug and see what is going on. This, tab, this, then 5, then 30. So what you should get is something like that. So just what we just did it should do the trick. So this is the two things that you are getting. The interest rate going down. So you pay like almost 2,100 at the beginning towards the interest, and just like a 500 or a little bit more, 600 towards the principal. But as you pay the principal, you have less interest rate. And here the principal is going to get bigger and bigger. And again, in any time here, like 300, if you add the value of this orange and this yellow, you're going to get your monthly payment. That is $26,880 or so. All right. So I will fix that for the next lecture. I will check what is wrong, but basic, that's it. So this whole program is done. You know what, if the solution is easy, I will send you an announcement and you fix your code and we are done here. And next lecture, we are going to discuss other topics that probably is not a Java FXML for now, but depending on the hands-on, we might use the excuse to create a GUI for whatever we are learning. But basically, that's what I want to cover for Java FXML, making GUIs with Java program. All right, and that's it. Does anybody has any question? If not, thank you very much. Have a nice night, and see you on next week. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
I have a quick question about the project.